Hello and welcome to Pricing College with your hosts, Aidan Campbell
and Joanna Wells.
In today's episode, we want to ask the question, how do you know when your business has a pricing problem?
Yeah, it sounds like an easy question, but actually it's quite difficult to detect you've got a pricing problem. And often, business leaders think about pricing right at the very end. And they don't think it's actually the problem, but it's the causal driver of a lot of other issues. So, I just wanted to discuss some of the things you should look out for just to know, or double check you've got a problem or not.
Obviously, when we look at companies, a lot of companies assume they have a pricing problem. But one of the best reasons to do this in advance is it's a lead indicator on future business success. If your business is facing a pricing problem, that will suggest that down the line there will be financial impacts, there will be business, success impacts. And I think it's almost like a canary in the mine concept where it gives you that lead indicator, whether it's 6 months or a year in advance.
Yeah, so it's something that maybe you should always look out for and measure as part of, just a general financial rigor and just to check you're on the right track. So one of the things you probably should look out for is on the P&L, very basic, is if your revenue is increasing, but margins are declining. This is a good sign that potentially you may have some pricing issues.
That's right. If you're selling more and more, but the pricing you're having to reduce it at, obviously this assumes that there's not huge volume discounts or rebate strategies in play, but more that to actually sell more products, you are having to discount and reduce your margins. Another aspect of this can be more of a people aspect. Talk to your sales team, see what they say.
Yeah, they might be complaining that there's a lot of pricing pressure out there, there's a lot of competition. They've got no choice but to discount a lot of the products, even the high value products, more than they want to. It may be the case that it's a simple sort of cost plus pricing methodology that isn't really covering the substantial price premiums that you could charge, or it could be indeed something that you're struggling to cover the costs of capex, even though you see your sales teams selling lots of deals, lots of products, but you're just really not getting the return there.
That's right. I think especially for more capital intensive industries, whereby you need your business to be, the return on investment has to certainly cover the cost of capital. Otherwise, you will eventually go broke. And I suppose if you're investing in a business that isn't growing, that doesn't have pricing power sufficient to forecast or to give you a good confidence in ongoing profitable growth that will cover that investment, it's really a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, and you've really got to think about your pricing power to then know what price setting methodology you should use. But it'd be quite dangerous to apply, value-based pricing in a margin-constrained industry with limited pricing power. So here you need to think very carefully about your P&L and your price-setting methodology.
Yeah, I think when we talk about looking at a business and seeing what doesn't have a pricing problem, the flip side of that is the opposite of a pricing problem is having pricing power. And like Warren Buffett, probably the world's most famous investor, he always talks about pricing power in businesses that he looks at. He looks at having protective moats and pricing power whereby that company can either maintain pricing or increase pricing over the short to medium term.
It's funny though, sometimes if you just look at the P&L to determine your pricing power, you can actually think you don't when you do. This is sort of a mindset issue. You could be, we see a lot of companies that potentially have more pricing power than they think they do, but they're constraining the power of pricing because they've got a commodity mindset. So here there's that sort of tricky line between looking too much at the P&L to determine pricing power and thinking, psychologically about the culture of the business and trying to unlock both, like the mindset and the P&L.
And we're seeing very, proactive investors, institutional investors, people like private equity. You know, classically, what they do is they buy a company, they take on debt, and then they really try to improve the company through either cost cutting or improving the commercial focus. And pricing is becoming much more common in that area, whereby obviously streamline the business systems, but also improve the commercial and pricing approach and the pricing outcomes.
Yeah, private equity now are staying in businesses much longer, growing the business, and so they look at pricing, when they're buying a company to see if there is indeed pricing pressure. But then once they've bought it, they want to grow the business, and they're introducing more sophisticated pricing techniques, value-based pricing, dynamic pricing to ensure the return on investment.
I think we'll wrap it up here today, but I think I think what I'd like to finish on is that having a pricing problem, that's not always a bad thing. Spotting a problem is the first step of fixing it. And I suppose knowing you have a problem, that just tells you can improve.
That's right. It's when you maybe think everything's okay, or you don't have checks in place just to make sure things are, on track. Just ask those questions. Look at the P&L, look at the behaviors of your team, just to give you a sense of where you're at with pricing, and never underestimate your pricing power. Think about mindset, P&L, team behavior.
Okay, thanks again and have a great day.
Yeah, thanks a lot.